Welcome to Real Leaders with Roshini, the podcast with real talk, real questions, real insight, and we hope real inspiration for real. We're here at Capitol Grille in downtown Minneapolis. My guest today is Liwanag Ojala, CEO of CaringBridge. Hi, Liwanag.
Hi, Roshini. It's so great to be here. Thanks for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
You know, you need kind of a small tome to list out all of your credentials. So I'm going to pick some of the highlights. Your past life includes Pear Tree Greetings, Simon Delivers, Coburn's Delivers. You are a trustee emeritus of the Blandin Foundation. You went to Northwestern undergrad, University of Minnesota Law School. I mean, you have the credentials. What makes you take over a place like CaringBridge?
Well, you know, it's been, you sort of noted it in that list, but it's been an interesting winding road to get to CaringBridge. But I would say that after working in the business world and as an attorney for a while, I sort of took a pause and I said, how do I put the skills that I have to work to better other people's lives? And I got super lucky because I had a friend who reached out to me and said, you know, CaringBridge, which is a global social network, completely centered on health, was looking for somebody to be their first COO, which at the time was an intentional succession plan for our founder, Sana Mering, who created CaringBridge in Eagan, Minnesota. And I got really lucky that I was asked to sort of participate in the interview process. So I think it's just sometimes you get lucky.
You made your own luck, though, don't you think?
Yes, I think I worked really hard, for sure.
Decisions along the way.
But part of it is just, I don't know if I would have known about that job unless I had a friend I had had a conversation with 6 months before and who I'd known for 12 years that thought of me, that said, maybe she's someone who might want to work on this. So I think it is about building networks and building relationships with people that sort of made him think about me on his radar, and that's Lars. So he was terrific to reach out to me.
Lars Leafblad, who's an amazing guy.
He is amazing.
The other thing that I want to get into the things that CaringBridge does, but you said something that made me think that take a pause. Mm-hmm. You wanted to take a pause, but you also had the trust to be able to share that with someone like Lars, to be able to say that out loud.
Yes. And, you know, I think, so I have a huge luxury in my life, which is a husband that's been home with the kids for almost 10 years. And, you know, when you are in a family and you're the breadwinner and you come home and share with your husband that I'd like to take a pause.
He wasn't as excited as maybe the rest of us hearing that.
But he did get it. He said, you know, you're right. You've been working since you were 12. And maybe you do need to stop and think about what it is you want to do, because someone like you has lots of interests and you could do lots of things, but what is the thing that's going to drive you and get you excited about getting up in the morning and spending time with a team to make something happen and important in the world? So, yeah, he wasn't super jazzed, but he did get it. And I think it's been a great decision for our family, too.
Let's talk a little bit about CaringBridge. It is the first and most widely used global nonprofit social network, started in 1997, the year of its first website. And the stats are just amazing. In 2018, 5.2 million well wishes and comments were posted. 30.9 million unique visitors to caringbridge.org in 2018. I mean, the bottom line is most organizations would just be salivating at these statistics.
Right. And some previous businesses that I worked on, I would have liked to have had those statistics. But I will say that the payoff for our team is all about, we are helping somebody who is in a very vulnerable time in their health journey to connect to their community. And that is so rewarding. And I will say that it's not that we are not running a business at CaringBridge. We're certainly running a business, and we get to do that because of the generosity of our donors. But I'm basically doing a lot of the same jobs I did as a digital executive in my other jobs and applying it to a mission-driven organization. And I've said this before, but I feel much more fulfilled at this job than any other job I've had, because it's really making a difference at a very, very important time in people's lives.
The concrete delivery is very touchy-feely. Mm-hmm. You know, what the consumer sees. I've posted messages to people who have had CaringBridge sites. Usually it's been when they're at the end of their health journey, unfortunately, and death is imminent. But what I find very interesting is that touchy-feely is what most of us know, but you have to think about this intersection of healthcare, the technology, the nonprofit nature, as well as all these years you've been in e-commerce, because there is e-commerce happening with this site. How do you put that into a nutshell for us?
Well, so we don't have a cart where people buy things, but certainly we take donations on our website. So it's similar to it's a transaction. But I would say that this positioning about being at these three industries, healthcare, technology, and nonprofit, is a really interesting challenge. And one theme that I've had in my career and in my life is I love a good challenge. And it's not always easy because the traditional doors that people go through when they think about healthcare, so much of the healthcare world and technology is focused on healthcare network specific things or venture capitalist funded technologies. And so much of the nonprofit world is focused on galas and auctions and things like that. And our organization is very untraditional from that standpoint. One statistic you didn't share as an example is last year we had 115,000 donors.
Wow, that's amazing.
It
because
is.
you're not doing ads on your site. You're taking donations.
Right. Exactly. And
so you need those donations.
Yeah, and those donors come from all over the world. And so think about what nonprofits traditionally do to sort of attract people to their mission and share their vision and their mission and the impact of what they do at events like traditional,
galas,
auctions, things like that. We don't really do things like that. And so the ability to share our message with people all over the country and the world is a challenge for a company our size. We have 44 people who work very, very hard to make it all happen so that people...
44 people who are responsible for backing up this stat. Every 8 minutes, a new CaringBridge website is created.
Yes. And I only say this for a comparison of resources. Facebook has 23,000 employees. And, that's where a lot of people engage in a social network. But we are very proud that we're very distinct from what they do, because we don't sell ads. We are not an ad-based revenue model, and they need to make those choices as a business. And we don't do that because of the generosity of our donors. So,
what would you like to see as the next game-changing thing for CaringBridge?
Well, we're working on some of those things right now.
Can you give us a sneak peek?
I can give you a little bit of a sneak peek. So first of all, we want to make sure that people can tell their story in ways that they want to tell their story. And that's changed quite a bit. Our 22nd anniversary is this year, which is 2019. And I will say it's, we're pre-Google. So think about that. Pre-pervasive use of email in your life, and certainly before the mobile revolution and all of those things. So one is the making sure that authors, and 65% of our authors are caregivers. So we want to make sure they can tell their story in the way that they want to. And secondly, that we want to create capabilities where the visitor community, people like you who have posted well wishes and responded to a journal post through comments, can activate the goodness in them to say, there's something I want to do for them and I don't know what it is. And so CaringBridge World of the Future will be a place where somebody can ask for help guilt-free, and the community will know exactly what to do that's connected to the thing that they need. And so we are really excited about that, working on that right now, and you'll see some new things from us in the next few years around that topic.
Being that conduit for the customization of what that person needs in that critical place on their health journey.
Yes. And it's really hard to ask for help. And I've found that when people need help, they have a harder time asking for it.
And especially even when they're fully healthy.
Right.
Let alone when they're ill.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. All right, Luana, let us talk about you. You have done so much for CaringBridge. You're a leader. You're all over the place, winning all these different awards. And I know it's not about the awards for you, but what really makes you tick?
Well, I will say I am very supported by my family and friends, and that's like the number one thing that has been so helpful in the role that I'm in now. I already mentioned my husband, but many executives don't have that luxury, and so I'm always constantly aware that he is so supportive in the choices that I've made in my career, including the current role I have at CaringBridge. And I have really good people, good mentors. I have done a very deliberate job over the last several years, really building my personal board of directors. Roshini, you and I haven't spoken about that, but I know, like you're surrounded by really good people who give you good advice.
Very blessed.
I'm very blessed as well. And people who can hold up the mirror to you and show you who you are and be honest with you. So I have very, very fortunate to have that in my life. And I have 2 sisters, so I naturally have that already.
So don't say another word on that. I have girlfriends who are like sisters. I have a brother, a baby brother, who is that way too.
Yes.
But yes, there is nothing like sisters or those sister-like women in your life.
Yeah, and I really value those relationships very deeply. And not just because we're family, but also because they give great advice about being a mom, about being a wife, about being a professional. And, it's really important to have a network of people that support what you do and who you are, because I really believe in this whole person philosophy, that who I am when I show up at work is the same person that I show up at home and when I'm socializing or I'm serving the community in other ways. And that's really, really important to me.
You've talked about your husband, and he sounds like just a great guy.
Yes, he's father and husband of the year
all the time.
Many years in a row.
So if someone does make the decision to marry, would you say who you choose to marry is probably the most important decision you make?
I tell this to young people. I have an opportunity to speak to young people lots of times, especially young people in college or people starting their careers. And the decision to surround yourself with people that enhance you, marriage or otherwise, is such a critical decision in your pathway to how you can be a better you. And that's how I've characterized it. It's not necessarily marriage, but it is the ability for someone to be in your life and enhance you in ways that you can't even imagine. And I think specifically for young women going through college and your professional life, it's such an important choice. Because if you conclude that there's no enhancing happening, you're probably in the other camp where you probably need to make a decision and do something about it, which is a very brave one, but it can really affect the rest of your life. And I feel so blessed to have made good choices on those fronts. And I think that's a big driver for where I am now.
What's the best advice that you give to your kids?
Just to be aware how fortunate they are and to understand gratitude in a deep way. So not everything in the world looks like our household and where we get to live and the opportunities that we get to give our children and the people they get to meet and all of the education they get to have. And so I think it's very important, especially in this world where there are so many important things happening in world dynamics right now. And they have to understand that where they live in the world is not like other places. And so trying to give them a sense of gratitude about the life that they have, but also a sense of service on what they need to do outside of their own lives is one of the most important things that we talk to our children about.
I couldn't have said that any better. We are in Capitol Grille, one of my favorite restaurants in the Twin Cities, and also has a good bar. If you were a drink or a spirit or a beverage of that sort, what would Luana be?
Oh, well, I love a good rosé. And rosé
all day, babe.
Rosé all day. And I'll tell you, it's a happy drink because people associate rosé with summertime or, when spring is coming, and it's light and it's fun. And so I think rosé. That's the first thing that came to mind.
You're light and fun, yet you do have some depth there.
And who doesn't like pink?
I mean,
come on.
Who doesn't like pink? I know. Real men wear pink too.
Right, exactly.
I love it. What is your advice for people out there, women and men, who say, you know what, that Luwanag Ojala, she is so inspiring, but I could never do all those things. I could never be the CEO of CaringBridge. I could never have gone to law school. I could never do all these things. What's your advice to them right now?
Well, you have to believe in yourself. I'm just a girl from Jersey who was fortunate to live most of my life in Minnesota. And I never put constraints on myself. I think I was 8 and I told my parents I was going to be the first woman lawyer in my family. Of course, when you're 8, you don't know if that's true or not, but I was very blessed with a sort of natural confidence, and I just believed I could do anything. And fortunately, I had a family who encouraged that. And I would say more critically, I had a father who encouraged that because, of course, my mom thought I could do anything, but my dad did too. And I remember hearing Malaya speak when she was here in the Twin Cities, and she said the role of her father believing that she could was so critical, and I that resonated with me. But if you believe you can't, then you're already putting your own walls up. So I'd ask you to just think about what you could be if you put your own walls down.
Yeah, your own inner narrative is so crucial.
Yes.
Right. If you had a theme song, what would it be?
Oh, I just thought about this question. I'm so glad you asked this.
Excellent.
So I would say it's the fourth movement of Camille Saint-Saëns' Algerian suite. I think it's concerto number. I can't remember the concerto number, but it's a march. It's a military march. And what I love about it, it's this military march that sort of starts like a normal march, but then it's kind of sweet and like kind and nice, but has this strong rhythm throughout. And so somebody asked me this recently, and I thought, I haven't shared this with anyone. You're the first person I've shared this with.
Breaking news right here on Really.
Fourth movement of the Algerian suite. And I was inspired because I heard it on NPR Classical one day. And I thought, this is my theme song.
I love it. We'll have to get that on a T-shirt too. Well, Luana, it has been just so much fun catching up with you.
Great to catch up with you, Roshini.
And learning more about not only what you're doing now, who you are, but your vision for CaringBridge, and really your vision for all of us out there, because everyone's going to be on some kind of health journey that they didn't expect. And it's great to know CaringBridge is there.
Yes,
it's great to know you are in our community in Minnesota, but they can find you all over the world. Until next time, keep it real.